Okay, I'm ready when you are.
Okay, one, we'd like to apologize for the delay. We had a technical difficulty. All rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
Pledge
America.
allegiance to the flag
To the
of the
republic
United States of
for which it
America,
stands, one nation,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Michelle, you ready? Take the roll call, please.
Councilman Ellsworth.
Present.
Councilman Larkin.
Here.
Councilman Lord.
Here.
Councilman O'Connor.
Here.
Supervisor Hay.
Here. Okay, first item on the agenda this evening is a work session for commercial shooting ranges, chapter 138. Received the final comments, which was open to the public. I think on Sunday was the last one, was the official comments. We received such. All comments received by the town will be in an official record. The ones that were received prior to Sunday are on the actual record. But Michelle, what is the other one considered? Correspondence?
They'll be in the correspondence, in the minutes to the meeting.
Right. Okay, very good. Okay, we had a public hearing on July 9th, 2 weeks ago. Quite a few people from the public got up to speak concerning the shooting ranges. Wide variety of comments. I believe the majority of them did not have a problem with an indoor shooting range, but there were some that had a problem with outdoor shooting ranges. So after that meeting, I contacted the town planner and said, based on those comments, to make a revision. So what we have tonight in front of us is the original draft of red line, which I'll let maybe John O'Connor speak to, and then a redraft, which I can speak to. Now, between the five of us, we have to come up with a consensus of at least 3 votes in the end as to what draft we accept. So John, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I'd like to say that my original intent to this was I looked at this chapter 138 definition of recreational exclusions, and I thought it was pretty broad, okay? And I think it applied obviously to both residential and commercial zones. And you and I discussed that back when we first looked at this in January. And I think now that we're back into a work session, I'm looking to see that, you know, we really should be not just focusing on one particular item in there, but actually reducing the broad legislation that actually exclude a lot of different types of recreation there, and trying to move forward for a construct that we can actually work on together with that.
Now, some of that is, I think, been addressed in the new draft.
Right. Some of it has, yes.
Okay, so why don't you maybe deal with the ones that have not?
Okay, so, well, you know, as for instance, I think, you know, we did get a lot of write-ins on regards to both indoor and outdoor uses for, as an example, the shooting ranges, okay? And I think the majority of the concern was really regarding noise levels or potential noise levels. And I know in the red version that you had provided, you had taken outdoor ranges completely out of it and left the indoor ranges. However, there was also, I believe, a section where the indoor ranges would require a minimum of 1,500 feet distance. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, but that was kind of with the indoor outdoor, and it should have been 1,000, but yes. So that change could be made easily.
Well, I think indoor, it shouldn't have any kind of restriction on as far as the distance is concerned. If it's wholly contained in a building, there's going to be obviously there's numerous examples. I could even take you on a field trip to see one, but there's no sound coming out of the building. So if the only problem with that was a matter of noise abatement, it's already self-contained in the building. So I don't understand why it would even be 1,000-foot minimum distance.
Well, the purpose of that, and I honestly believe it should be in the code, any commercial to residential, not even just shooting ranges, should have a greater buffer than the current one, which is like 500 feet. There's an area here in the town southeast. There's a lot of residential and abuts right up to a commercial. And I think there should be a wider buffer between commercial and residential. So it's not just shooting ranges.
Okay. Well, I would say that, you know, I don't think it needs to go that far. I think you can, there's plenty of examples where you could actually get attestation to the fact that there is no sound. I still go along with, if we're talking about a sound issue and there is no sound issue, then, you know, excessive setback is not really in the best interest. So that's what I have to say about that.
Could I make a point real quick, John?
Yeah, sure, please.
I think what Tony is referring to is that there are built in our code currently enhanced setbacks when commercial districts abut residential districts. And that is a building setback, meaning you can't have a building within 100 feet or whatever. So I don't know whether there should be an enhanced, a further enhanced setback in the instance of shooting ranges that are indoors, but the commercial building setbacks would apply. Would they not, Ashley?
I believe they would, and it's not in all districts, but yes, if it was located in one of the districts that had that condition, yes.
Okay. So, you know, in looking at it, I mean, originally on the original law, the way it was written back in 2017. So I guess we're adding a section that's now labeled, because it first spelled out recreation. Then there was a second section that created residential recreation. And then I believe there was a third section for small business recreation. So now that's being redefined. The original section just stating recreation, which I guess would apply to any type of zone, is now being restructured to commercial. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, so these correspond to the uses that are listed in the use table. So previously there was a use type called recreation. Now that's being clarified as recreation commercial. So anything that would be recreation commercial would be allowed in commercial districts. Anything that's recreation, residential is the type of commercial residential use or not-for-profit recreation use that's allowed in a residential zoning district. So that should be things like a little league field.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay. And then, so we're taking other activities like for instance, archery seemed to have been completely excluded from town code. It was made completely illegal and except on private property. So that's now that's being moved from the original 2 locations into the shooting range location exclusively?
Yeah, so all like actual weapons like guns and archery would fall under the shooting range, which would be a new use that would be allowed in several commercial zoning districts.
Okay.
The things like indoor laser tag would be allowed in a recreation commercial, as a recreation commercial use in commercial zoning districts.
Okay. All right. So, so I think a lot of that is better, certainly, I think, than the way it was previously written. I think, you know, calling out commercial zone, commercial recreation now just instead of a blanket recreation, I think that does define it a lot better. But I do think need to work on the setback. So what can you answer, like what the normal setback is in a regular commercial zone for most activities?
There's variable setbacks in each zoning district.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the smallest setbacks are around, I think around 20 feet in some of the smaller lot zoning districts, up to 100 feet in the larger lot zoning districts.
Okay. So.
And then certain special permit uses have enhanced setbacks.
What is currently, if you know off the top of your head, the largest distance enhanced setback right now? you happen to know?
In
I-
commercial
I
zone,
don't,
it is, the largest is, largest front yard setback is 100 feet,
100 feet. So,
and the largest side setback is 100 feet, depending on the use group.
there's certain special permits that have larger though. I think I think some of them may go up to 500 for special permit. I'm gonna look that up though.
And again, my biggest concern about this is commercial to commercial abutting can be less. I'm just asking that anything commercial to residential be greater.
okay.
Certainly, we could build that into the code so that if a particular piece of property is commercially zoned but abuts a residentially zoned parcel, that the setback of the building setback in that instance would be enhanced to a 200, 300, whatever is considered appropriate. But again, it's as John made a very good comment. If these indoor facilities are indoor, they're fully contained, and all you need to do is go over to the Paladin Center in Carmel and see that you can't hear anything outside that building.
Oh, that's understandable. It is.
Yeah, and I know she's looking up right now, and I appreciate that, Ashley. So, if our most common enhanced setback is 100 feet, I don't know why we're going 15 times that for something that's, if we're looking at just.
Well, again, when that was written in there, it was indoor, outdoor, and didn't get changed when it went back to just indoor.
Okay.
So what is everyone's pleasure?
Well, if it's only contained in a building, I think certainly something a lot smaller would be.
Well, give a number and see if we can agree.
Okay,
I was
so
gonna suggest 500 when I
Huh?
speak later on. I was gonna suggest 500 when I speak later on.
I would say 500 as well.
indoor.
Indoor.
Indoor, yes,
Get
for
500.
indoor.
I mean,
And again, it's not just for shooting ranges, guys. I'm gonna look for this in the future with anything commercial up against residential.
so if this is not abutting residential, then
It can be less,
it could be less. So
yes. So we can write in there, if it's up, commercial to residential, it's 500, and commercial to commercial, pick a number.
do we have any of those zones that are just completely up against commercial?
Most of the zones abut some form of residential because they're all along the corridors. And so right, as soon as you get beyond the corridor, like along the Route 22 corridor, the adjacent zoning districts are residential zoning districts.
The
Yeah, but
key is
22
going to be the lot that is being considered for one of these facilities, not necessarily the district. If the parcel
True.
that is being,
Right.
it's going to, the parcel is not abutting a residential zone, it would be the normal commercial setback. But if it does, if that parcel does abut a residential property, it would be the enhanced setback.
Okay,
So
That'll
just to answer the question for setbacks, the largest setback I'm seeing for as a special permit condition is 300 feet. And that applies to schools, motor vehicle service stations, and houses of worship need to be 300 feet.
From
what kind of,
From, the property line.
any kind of activity?
I mean, it's variable depending on which one of those uses we're talking about, but it's generally 300 feet. For example, in houses of worship, it's 300 feet to the property line. For motor vehicle services stations, it's to specific features like the reservoir.
Thank you for that.
I would,
Is that 300 feet regardless of where that use is located?
Yes, it's a special permit criteria for houses of worship.
John, Lord?
yeah, I would prefer to keep the distance 1,000 feet. And I would also, well, this is in your section C, operation of shooting ranges. I would want it to be that distance, at least 1,000 feet from any entrance or property line to a school, daycare center, church, hospital, park, or any residentially zoned property. Now that would be my preference.
Okay,
That's not a building setback. That would be a distance parcel to parcel. So you can't have a shooting range within 1,000 feet of a school. That's from the edge of the parcel to where the school is located.
Right.
It's not set back of the building. If we're talking about indoor shooting ranges, it's not the setback of the building from the property line.
Understood.
Edwin, you still good with 500?
I'm good with 500, yes.
I am as well.
Now, I didn't get, I only saw the red line version that you sent out the day after the public hearing. That's the only thing I'm referring to for tonight. If there's another version out there, I haven't seen it yet.
It's part of your backup. I didn't screw that part up.
Yeah, so the version that's in the packet corrects the typo that you found on that earlier version about
Edwin,
the hours
in
of
your
operation.
Edwin, in your packet is WS1A.
I'm guilty of not printing today's packet out. I printed out earlier, and so I apologize ahead of time then.
Okay,
But just bear with me, and if I become redundant, then you let me know if it's been changed or not. I think at the last public hearing, Tony, I believe, and I'm paraphrasing, so correct me if I'm wrong, I think you started off the meeting letting everybody know that, you know, unfortunately, there was a mistake made when we voted for this in 2017.
yes.
And we're just trying to correct that. My recollection of what we were voting for that night was just, I believe they wanted to do a paintball, something to do with paintball in a residential area right around Milltown. And that's what we were, I believe, voting for that night, to exclude paintball from being in residential areas. I don't think the intent was, of course, to eliminate the shooting ranges, but I think that's what happened. So I'm guilty. That occurred on my watch, so I apologize. I called another council person that was on at the time just to say, do you recall this? And they have no recollection of really voting to eliminate the shooting ranges as well. So at least I know I'm not crazy. That being said, you know, I don't think that any of us are disputing here that the shooting ranges should be in a commercial area. I mean, residential. So I think the only thing we should be discussing is if they're on commercial property, you know. That being said, I think that a lot of people have weighed in, and noise is really the big factor. And my understanding is that, you know, there's new technologies, there's new ways to abate noise or mitigate noise based on new technology. So I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be able to explore that. You know, I'd hate to immediately dismiss it. Let's discuss it, let's explore it. That's something that we can have the planning board vet. And I think, like Will or Ashley will say, you know, we can have that written into the code somewhere. Like, for anybody to do X, Y, Z, these would be the requirements before you do that. And I think that would be fair. It would help mitigate things. If we really are gonna like argue about no, absolutely no shooting ranges, then at least I would say that we should make allowances for either laser or paintball or archery as an outdoor activity. I mean, that really doesn't have a lot of noise, not like shooting a gun. And then lastly, again, we're talking about indoor, I'm definitely for just 500 feet. Again, at the end of the day, I think we have planning boards, we have the town board with special permits. There's a process. Let applicants go through the process. Let's vet it out, and just let's not kill something before it even gets off the ground, like we've done with a couple of other projects. So that's about it. All I have to say. And like I said, if some of this has already been rectified in the packet that I didn't print out, I apologize and then thank you. And I'll have to read it then to comment on it further.
Okay, well, let's kind of do this a little bit piecemeal. right now, we can possibly make a change if we get enough support to go from the 1,500, which at the time when it was written was left in there, because once it was redrafted and allowed indoor but not the outdoor, it was not changed. And 500, I think, would be fair. So John wants 1,000. You got two for 500. Do I hear? I'm not gonna be an auctioneer.
I'm fine with the 500 for the indoor.
Okay. So if that were to hold and we write up a new, this would, by the way, public, this will require another public hearing. So it's not all taking place tonight. We're just trying to move forward and see what we can come and compromise on before the next public hearing. It may take another meeting. We see what we can get done this evening. Okay, so we're gonna change-
So that would be 500 feet from where? The way it's written in the line is from any entrance to any school, daycare center, church, or hospital, any residentially zoned property. I had proposed that we also add park to that. And I also recommended that we make it from any property line, not entrance. So if you're going to make 500 feet be the distance factor, then please define where you're moving it to, or where you're measuring from. Thanks.
Ashley or Will, I don't know if you know the answer, you know, based on John Lord's comments, aren't there just some state mandates that, you know, if this was going to happen anyway, the state would dictate to you, and we're making it up, yeah, you can't be next to a school, you know, that's just already built into the law. So I think, are we like overanalyzing this? It's got to be a certain criteria on the books for the state or whatever that. So
I think we're analyzing it. I don't think we're overanalyzing it. That way we'll remember it.
There are statutes that prohibit guns to be within a certain distance of a school. Those have been on the books for quite some time.
Yeah, that's, if I may, it's environmental conservation law says firearm can't be discharged less than 500 feet from another dwelling that you don't own, and you can't fire across a roadway. So that it always goes back.
Yeah, we're talking about two different things, though, John.
Yeah.
There are laws that were put into effect. And I don't have it right at the tip of my fingers, but in the wake of some of the gun tragedies that occurred in schools, laws were adopted prohibiting, making basically safe zones where you can't bring a gun within a certain distance of a school. I think that's what Ed is speaking about.
yes.
Ashley, I have a question of you quickly. With number one, John's saying property line. I think it's already written in there. And then it says no new shooting range shall be located nearer than, now it's going to be 500 feet from any entrance to any school, daycare center, church, or hospital. Any residentially zoned property. So is that considered the entrance, or we make it the property line? I would take that as the property line. Do we have to make it clearer?
I believe
So I would say for the property line, if for the residentially zoned property, it would be the property line. I do think we should make it consistent
Clear.
between the two and clear. And I
Yes.
think we do need to check this 500 feet against New York State law, because I just don't know offhand what that distance is.
Okay, well, what John said early on, that's DEC regulation, it is 500 feet.
that's
But that's near his house.
There's a
That's discharging a gun outside of in the outside.
Yes,
You can't discharge a gun within 500 feet, 500 feet or 500 yards? 500 feet. Of
500
another-
feet.
Of another residence, and you can't discharge a gun where the projectile would go across a road.
Yes.
That's in the penal law.
Okay, so the intent of what we were trying to do, at least I was trying to do at the time, was the property line when it comes to residential. So make it clear.
I think it should be property line from, a school property.
Okay, fine.
The school property is going to be a lot larger than where the entrance is.
Okay, so property
Yeah.
line, remove entrance. As,
Okay, so for all of those uses, it will be property line, 500
Yes.
feet, and we'll confirm that that meets New York State regulations.
Yes.
Or is not in conflict with them.
Okay,
Can we add park?
yes, that's easy. Okay, now to the crux of it as far as outdoor. I have a concern. I mean, the public spoke. Again, I didn't hear very many people, even the most adamantly opposed to outdoor, had no problem with indoor. Now, I looked up here in the town, not the town, in the county, there are 4 ranges. There are 1 indoor, which everyone refers to as a Paladin Center. There's 1 Kent Rod and Gun Club, Putnam County Fish and Game Association, and Willowwood. Now, those are all private. Now, I have to admit, town of Southeast is around 230 years old, and we've never had a person make an application yet for a shooting range, indoor or outdoor. So by moving indoors to start, I think is a good move, okay, which I would fully support. I would not say, I would say no to an outdoor, but again, it'd have to have a lot more. Now, right now, our code, again, I'm not going to outdoor ranges at this point in time. I fully support indoor. However, the Hudson Valley, which is the indoor, which is considered Paladin, they're on 13 acres, okay? Now, the other outdoor ranges is Kent Rod is 25, Putnam County Fish and Game is 75 acres, and Willowwood is 82. The proposal for the town of Southeast is 10. So that is troublesome. But again, I'm not interested in discussing outdoor at this time. I'd like to get it going, get indoors in, and then if an application comes into the town of Southeast now or in the next 230 years, it can be dealt with at a time. Don't write it off, but not put it in at this time, but there's a possibility if they can do it. Again, I don't know what kind of property we have here. I didn't look that up to see how many 500 acres. We have 200 acres, but 10 doesn't seem to be sufficient. I'm not sure 25 is either, but if someone comes in and makes an application and it fits the glove, maybe consider it. But right now, there's nothing in town as far as an application. And again, nothing in the past 230 years.
Supervisor Hay, if I may interject one thing about the large properties that you just described.
Yes.
Being a member of Putnam Fish and Game myself, I can tell you the bulk of the property is not used for anything but hunting season on those properties. So Kent Rod and Gun, Putnam Fish and Game, and Willowwood have those large parcels because they're exclusively used for hunting. Actually, they shut the ranges down, from what I understand, during the hunting season, so that members can hunt freely without, having any problems, basically. So that might answer your question on why they're so large.
Well, that's one, I think that's a good thing, because the more for outdoor shooting, I think the better. Okay.
Willing to pay the fee.
Now, we can always go in our own backyard if we've got the room.
So I agree with you, Tony. I'm in favor of the indoor ranges. It's not a safety issue for me more than it is just a noise issue. And I've heard it from a lot of people that are against that because of it. And I myself wouldn't want to be living near an outdoor range. So I'm open to exploring it more in the future if an application came forward, but I'm in agreement.
I would agree. I would support an indoor range. I wouldn't support an outdoor range. I live near a property owner that uses his property to set off fireworks, and uses firearms. And it's within his right. He's got quite a bit of property, but the noise is pretty disconcerting, and it happens different times of the day. Happens on Sundays. It happens close to dusk. And I would have issues with it, and I wouldn't want other residents in town to have to deal with that kind of thing in a commercial, as a commercial enterprise. Thanks.
John, do you know how far you are from that property? As a crow flies?
As the crow flies, I would say quarter to half a mile. And he fires into the side of a hill, which is the best thing to do. But that hill, then I guess the sound reflects off that back to us. So, but anyway, it is quite a ways away, and there are different kinds of weapons that are used. One time there was quite a large explosive that was detonated, but it is a nuisance at times. And anyway, that's my feelings on the
And for
outdoor.
the public, it is legal, it's on a private property, and it's allowable in the town of Southeast.
It is, but the noise that I'm hearing, I would not want to, as a town board member, authorize that kind of noise to be to subject to our residents' ears in other locations. So, thanks.
If I may,
Yes,
I wholeheartedly agree with Councilman Lord. Unabated noise, because obviously, without actually looking at the property, but hearing the story, you're absolutely right that the sound is reflected by that hill. It's also, I'm sure he's not collecting the lead that's going into the side of the hill either, which, presents an issue. It's an environmental issue. And, again, an outdoor commercial range, if done the right way, can, first of all, get that guy to go somewhere else other than next to your house. But the other thing is, there's a cottage industry that's basically sprung up around outdoor ranges, because many of the ranges, especially even the ones that are private ranges in Putnam County, such as Ken Rod and Gun and Putnam Fish and Game, when they were first established, they were rural areas, and houses and residential areas have grown up around them, right next to them. And so more and more this new industry is actually all about sound mitigation and safe reclamation of any of the lead that goes into these ranges from shooting. So there's whole systems on that, and it's become very reasonable. The noise levels, I mean, as an example, OSHA says employees can be subjected to 85 decibels all day long. Okay, that's the OSHA standard. And if you can maybe put in legislation that requires in the special permit that a range, if it wanted to be an outdoor range and has to be vetted through the planning board and the town board, would have to, not exceed a reasonable level, such as 75 decibels. I'm sure we could revisit that, maybe not today, but at another time. But it's the technology is out there. There's a lot of, and I'd rather have somebody doing that in a regulated facility rather than willy-nilly next to John Lord. Don't want anything to happen over there.
okay, where do we want to go with what we're doing this evening? Do we want to continue a discussion at a later date? Do you want to move forward what we put tonight and have a public hearing and deal with outdoor in the future? What's your pleasure?
Well, I think now that we're addressing the other items that were kind of left by the wayside, such as the archery and everything else, I think we're certainly getting on a better track to it. So I'd be willing to go to a public hearing as far as what we've discussed on indoor ranges tonight, okay, and the other pieces. I also agree. I don't know if we mentioned that we were going to exclude some of the particular commercial zones because.
Yes, we did that already.
Yeah, so I think that was also a step in the right direction. So I'm okay moving forward with some of the recent changes that we've made tonight to public hearing. So.
Okay, I would agree.
I agree. We should go to a public hearing with this. I had one question now. I think, or somebody said earlier that laser tag would be permitted, would be a recreation commercial or commercial recreation, but I'm looking at the red line. It says commercial recreation excludes the following outdoor uses.
Look at the redraft. Look at the redraft to make sure it's in there.
It says commercial recreation also includes the following uses if they are conducted exclusively indoors: go-kart tracks, arcades, and laser tag.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't.
Oh, that's okay.
I
No,
only saw
so
the bottom.
that was in response to a lot of the noise concerns that we received, and some of the newer they're having a lot of new like indoor go-kart tracks and laser tag, and once they're indoors, they're not disruptive.
Thank you.
Okay, under the regular meeting portion, I'll call for a public hearing on the revised shooting range law for Thursday, August 20th. Right now, we have a fairly large agenda tonight compared to what we've had recently. And right now, I don't have anything moving forward for the next meeting, which is scheduled for August 6th, so we probably will not have it. So I'm going to schedule the public hearing at that time on the 20th, if that's okay with everyone.
Okay, sure.
Fine.
We're not voting on that, but we'll be doing it at that time. So that's where I'll put it forward, okay?
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to now move to the regular portion of the meeting.
Second,
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I waive the reading of the correspondence. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next, the approval of the voucher list, $1,097,920.36. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Waiving of the reading of the budget transfers. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, all meetings will be held at 1360 Route 22, Brewster, New York at 7 p.m. unless otherwise noted. With the coronavirus, we had a meeting last month indoor. We barely broke the code on that. And we decided this evening to go to Zoom. So right now, the meetings, right now it says Thursday, August 6, 2020, like I explained a few minutes ago. I don't believe there's going to be a meeting. I have nothing for the agenda. If something comes to the top that we have to have that meeting, we will have it. But right now, it does not like going to happen. And then the meeting after that would be Thursday, August 20th, 2020. And I'll recommend at that point in time, we have the public hearing on the shooting range. Now, do we want it? We don't know if the governor is going to extend Zoom meetings or live. So how do we want to work it? Do what we've done in the past?
I would suggest that we leave it for, we can put it on the agenda as being either in person or, depending on if we get an executive order extending the in-person suspension.
Okay. Well, we pretty much do that now. I mean, we post it on the internet, let them know accordingly. So, okay. So
Yeah.
we won't identify because we don't know what the governor is going to do if he extends it or not.
Yeah, maybe,
Very last minute.
Are you didn't hear what you said, John?
I said sometimes it's extremely last minute.
Yeah, very. Okay,
when a decision's made, maybe if we could just put it on the website right away that we are planning to have this meeting live as soon as we know, just so people.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, we can do that. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next one, hold on, let me get caught up here. Next one is number 5. Affirmative, negative. Oh, let me explain something here. This is my error. I make a lot of errors, sorry about that. If you saw my desk, you'd understand why. And well, I'm not picking any this week. Okay, on number 5, I have an affirmative, negative declaration for Barrett Hill. I put a / full environmental assessment form, part 1, project setting. That was intended for the shooting range. And I inadvertently put it on with Barrett Hill. So that does not belong. This is going to be reposted tomorrow on the webpage, but tonight it's only 5, resolution affirming negative declaration for Barrett Hill, and the environmental assessment form was put on in error. Okay. Here we go. It's pretty short. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast, in accordance with part 617.7 of seeker law, hereby affirms its previous negative declaration for the proposed project. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, I had a question. In the whereas section.
Which one? First page, second page?
First page, and it looks like it's 1, 2, 3. The 5th whereas, the population of proposed project is anticipated to be 349 persons, including 33 school-aged children, of which 26 are projected to be in public school. Is this the supposition from the original the original negative declaration, or
I
has
believe it is.
it been updated?
That is based on the EAF that was provided for the project back in 2017. And the multipliers that they used have not changed since that time. And the number of units has not changed either.
Okay. I know that they referenced a couple of local projects that they compared the numbers to. And I just noted we're 3 years down the road now. I wondered if those projections or those were accurate. I think there was the place in North Salem that they referenced, and there was another project. So that was my question.
It's basically the best guesstimate at the time.
Yeah, John, I actually looked into this, the same question. The school is actually, I checked with them, they're projecting 56 kids. And I actually called Warren Lucas about Bridalside, which is 60 units. 14 kids were projected in that project, and there's currently 61 kids enrolled. So almost 1 for 1 for the units. You know, I don't know that that's what we're here to review for this, and based on your questions and Will's responses. But, you know, if anyone from the school board is listening, I do think you have a good point that there's anywhere from 26 to 168 kids that could be expected from this project.
I know that when this project was first proposed, it was senior housing, and then this was changed to workforce housing, and the low school projections was supposed to, I guess.
Only 17 of the units are truly workforce housing. The remainder of the units are market rate.
Which means a chance for more children.
Well, generally, units that are affordable units tend to have a higher number of children than units that are market rate units in similar developments.
And all Bridalside is affordable?
And I think so. I'm not positive about that though.
Yes, Bridalside, this is John Banlordi. Bridalside's 100% affordable. The standards by which the school children was evaluated in the EAF and in the environmental review for the current project as proposed, those standards had not changed. And Ashley can talk to you about what the basis of those standards are and how school children are calculated for purposes of an environmental review. Nothing's changed. And one thing that has changed is in many communities is that enrollment has been declining and significantly declining across many jurisdictions.
Not ours, but
the bottom line is there's no modification to be made in the projected school children because nothing has changed in how that analysis would take place.
Thank you.
John, since you're on, I had just one more question about the Castle Park, just to confirm if that's allowed.
Well, wait, time out.
Oh,
That has nothing to do with this portion. We're going into that next.
okay.
Okay, now, question then, Ashley. What do we do with the numbers? Do we change them now? Does it make a difference if it's high, low, indifferent?
I don't think we can do that.
Methodology that they use to estimate school children is a pretty industry standard methodology. You know, there's always going to be variations, but I don't think we would need to change it in the negative declaration.
Okay, any other comment? Roll call vote.
Councilman Alvarez,
Yes.
Councilman Larka,
Yes.
Councilman Lord,
No.
Councilman O'Connor,
Yes.
Supervisor Hay.
No, passes 3-2. Resolution number 6, special permit renewal Barrett Hill Association LLC. Now therefore be resolved that based upon the foregoing findings, the town board of the town of Southeast hereby grants a multifamily workforce housing special permit to the subject premises in accordance with statement of use prepared and submitted to the planning board in connection with the project development plan application and incorporated herein by reference on the following conditions. The applicant shall operate the facility in compliance with all general and special conditions set forth in Article 10 and Article 19 of the zoning code. 2, the applicant shall execute and file a mutually acceptable community benefit agreement with the town detailing the reservation of certain residential units as workforce housing and the procedure for maintaining such housing as workforce housing going forward. 3, the applicant shall make cash payment to the town per unit as per the AKRF memorandum dated August 22, 2017, payable at the time of the building permit issuance on per unit building basis. Such payments, when made, shall be deposited in the town's recreation reserve fund and be utilized by the town exclusively for park, playground, or other recreational purposes, and totals $263,796. Excuse me. And 4, the applicant shall donate and install the replacement of the Castle Park play structure deemed in need of replacement. At this point in time, it's basically almost condemned, estimated to be the range of $100,000. Notwithstanding the 2017 estimate of $100,000 installed value, Barrett Hill will purchase and install the play equipment at its sole cost and expense, even if actual cost exceeds $100,000. Such replacement shall be substantially similar to the equipment quotation prepared for the town of Southeast, which is annexed hereto as Exhibit A. And Exhibit A is 3 pages, by the way. 5, land owned by Long Ridge Associates, which is controlled by Barrett Hills Principal of 46.28 plus or minus acres of land adjacent to the contiguous to Tenant Lake Park, identified on tax map as tax map number 56-1-41, shall be offered as a donation to the town. And 6, the actions outlined in paragraphs 4 and 5 above shall occur within 150 days, and in brackets, 150 days, of the filing with the town clerk of the resolution granting final site plan approval by the planning board. And be further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to forward a certified copy of this resolution to Barrett Hill Associates LLC, the Secretary of State Town Southeast Planning Board, and the Southeast Building Department's forthwith. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Larkin?
Yeah, so I don't know if John, if you're on, or Ashley, if this is something you could answer, but when will Castle Park be replaced in this process?
I think once we finish with the planning board, we'll move right into to proceeding with that installation and conveying the land from Long Ridge Associates, or at least offering for dedication so the town can accept it.
All
How
right,
much time?
so that,
how much? Good, sorry.
so that's the removal of Castle Park and the replacement. And, you know, I understand you plan to commence, but, you know, it's been a few years. We get a lot of questions about this, and I'm just curious, like, worst case scenario, when does this have to get done?
Well, 4 and 5 have to occur within 150 days of the filing of the passed resolution, assuming that gets passed, for final site plan approval. So once we're already looking to get onto the planning board to finish. We have all of our other approvals in place. So we're hoping we're in and out of the planning board in a couple of meetings, and we get our resolution, and then we've got 150 days to complete these items 4 and 5. I see no reason that we would drag our feet.
Okay, so 150 days from the final site plan approval.
Correct.
And then, and just to clarify, that includes removing Castle Park, what's there, and the replacement.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Any other town board members? Roll call vote.
Councilman Alvarez,
Yes.
Councilman Larka,
Yes.
Councilman Lord,
No.
Councilman O'Connor,
Yes.
Supervisor Hay.
No, passes 3-2. Number 8.
Thank you.
Putnam County.
Thank you,
You're
everyone.
welcome.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Number 8, resolution, Putnam County Real Property Tax Services. Yeah.
7?
Huh?
Did you do 7, Tony?
Uh,
Yeah, we're on number 7.
Nope, I picked up the wrong one. Sorry about that. Number 7, resolution adjusting base proportions for real property tax assessment purposes. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast accepts recommendation of the town assessor and hereby authorizes the town clerk to sign and provide to the Office of Real Property Services Form RP-6703 for the town outside village and townwide homestead portion containing the adjusted base proportion of 61.389423% and 60.651940% respectively pursuant to real property tax law and New York State rules and regulation in form and substance and may be approved by town attorney. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 8, resolution. Putnam County Real Property Tax Services. Now therefore be resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to execute and deliver to the County of Putnam Real Property Tax Service contract for 2020 tax year in the form and substance annexed hereto, and be further resolved that the town clerk shall forward a copy of this resolution to the assessor forthwith. So move for discussion.
A second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 9, resolution adopting local law number 7 of 2020. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast hereby adopts local law number 7 of 2020 pursuant to the municipal home rule, repealing chapter 28 of the town code entitled Park and Recreation Advisory Board, and be further resolved that the town clerk be and is hereby authorized and directed to A, enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting and in the code book of the town of Southeast, and B, give due notice of the adoption of said local law by filing such with the Secretary of State of New York within time required by law. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 10, supervisor's report.
I
What?
thought I said something for discussion, but
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Oh.
Okay.
going back to that, that local law had quite a lot to it. And I would like to have an advisory board, but not one that we would be looking for to manage parks and recreation, but one that might offer ideas of what residents might want.
Oh, John, I got more comments from residents. I can show you a bundle. You don't need that, but I'll let you read all the comments.
Good. Well, I think if there was a group that was reading all those comments, they might be able to sift through it and then come back to us with some advice on how to proceed. But I understand, and thank you. I vote to repeal it as well, the way it was.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, supervisor report. Well, believe it or not, we're halfway through the year. And I've been telling you all along, I didn't have a good handle on it because of, the coronavirus. Revenues are down, things aren't good in a sense, but we are actually holding our own. So here's a quick breakdown. If any of you have any money in the bank, you know the interest rates stink, okay? So we used to get a little bit of money. So right now we're down about $35,000. And it's a lot of money for us, but we're not going to get it. And I don't see it coming back anytime soon. Now, the good thing is the mortgage tax is up by around $59,000. Now, that's a good thing. Believe it or not, the coronavirus is people fleeing New York City. They're heading north, where basically the first stop out of Westchester, where the taxes are a little bit lower. And the further north you go, the better they're doing. But right now, we're doing a little bit better. Homes are selling. Now, our biggest problem, our recreation fees are down big time, like $85,000. We've had to cancel many of our programs. We had to give a substantial amount of refunds. Certain programs are working, some are not. And it all depends on how long the coronavirus stays, which from what I'm hearing, probably be to year end. So we can't look to the recreation department to help us out. They have in the past at least held their own. They're not spending as much money because the programs aren't they say it's a wash, but I'm telling you, when I got here, they told me recreation for every dollar earned and is a dollar spent. It didn't work that way. So my first budget that I inherited was pretty bad because of that, but it got better. But this is beyond our control, and we'll do what we can. And let's see, the courts, right now they're down approximately, and I'm gonna say only 15,000. Unfortunately, the year before, the court was like in full session. One of the judges was not doing a full court schedule last year. So that screwed up my figures for last year. So when I did my budget for this year, I reduced it. That's a good thing. Now, even with the coronavirus, at least now, so it's not down as much because they made a correction. They're going to start coming back. Will has a new program where I think is going to generate some additional revenues. In the end, it's not going to be as bad, although if I hadn't made the adjustment last year, it'd be really bad. So right now, that's a good thing. Now, the bad news, the coronavirus is here. They established a tax cap and didn't take into consideration the coronavirus and how bad things are going to be. So this year, it's 1.56%, which means the maximum we would get additional would be $103,372. So as I prepare the budget, don't shoot me. I hope to bring it in within the tax cap. It's going to be somewhat of a challenge. I don't want to use any reserve if it's possible. So my neck is on the line. I know you're looking for my neck anyway, so this might be a good time to take it. So that's the report for this evening. It's fair, could be a lot worse, and I'm just going to hope that we continue to hold our own. If we continue the pace, we might hang in there. And I have to admit, I really feel bad for many of the businesses in our town. As you know, the restaurants, it's very difficult. This hot weather is not good for them. Gyms are not open, and it's pretty tough. I know a couple of people that personally, I was in business 36 years in the town, and I know many of my friends are really, really, really struggling. So I feel for them, and there affects us, and we got to keep our fingers crossed. With that, we'll open up for public comment. Now, Eric, you want to explain to them how they can comment?
Yeah, so you can raise your hand and I'll unmute you, or I believe if you're on a phone, you can press *9 to be unmuted.
Now, we'll take them one at a time. So if we don't get to the first time, we'll get to the second or third time. So hang in there, just do what Eric just said. Raise your hand and *9, you said?
Yeah, so if you to raise your hand, you would click on participants, I believe, and I don't have it on my end, but I believe there's a button to raise your hand.
Did you get anybody yet?
Nope, it doesn't look like anybody.
I'm sorry. I said *6 to unmute. If I'm allowed to talk, I just have a couple questions.
Yes,
Sorry,
can you state your name for the record too and your location, ma'am?
Yes, it's Alicia Russo on Fields Corner Road, and I actually just have a couple questions about the property lines, just so I understand. Am I allowed to ask during this time?
Yes, that's what this is for, yes.
Okay, Tony, we disagree on a lot. I couldn't agree more when you said, and John, the 1,000 feet. But I know that it was talked about doing the 500, and it was initially in the record for 1,500. I would actually ask that you kind of split the baby and meet somewhere in between those two numbers. Also, to clarify, when you say from the building to the property line, or is it like from where a parking lot would be to the property line of that facility, whatever the facility is? Which one is it, the building or the parking lot of that facility?
No, the measurement is from property line. Ashley? Is Ashley there?
Yes, I stayed on, sorry. So that was one of the things we were going to reword.
Yeah.
And so it was going to be from the property line of this particular parcel, of the parcel that wants to put on a shooting range, to the property line of a parcel that has a church, a school, a park. So they couldn't, because we're going to go from property line to property line, the two parcels could not be next to each other.
I'm sorry, does that mean like, so it would be, let's say, the property line of a residence to the parking lot part, where the parking lot would be, that would be whatever feet you've agreed to, or is it the building?
It would be from property line to property line. So what it would, in practical terms, it would mean that there would have to be another piece of property between a residential use and a shooting range. There'd have to be something in between.
Mr. Russo, I believe you're up on Pugsley Road and you're next to the 10 acres owned by the county. How far is your property line to the 10 acres of the county?
5 feet.
5 feet?
No,
Yeah.
I think your property borders the town property. The county property is next to the town property.
I'm right next to the town property, yes.
Right.
Okay,
I'm
the question was a county one. Do you know that one?
a county,
But,
oh, I'm sorry.
you know what, let me clarify that. The county would not be required to adhere to these rules, so your property wouldn't count. County can do what it wants,
Okay,
but it is
Okay.
500 feet from property line to the other.
okay. Okay, and the other comment, if you're reviewing, you had the insurance specs. I would just recommend to the board that they would increase and include an umbrella and excess policy, because nobody sues for $1 million these days. So I'm glad you put it in there, the minimum insurance requirements, but I would recommend an excess on top of that.
That would not be a major change if we made it. That's not a problem.
No, most people have it anyway. And that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I stand.
One other thing, Tony, I also like that you wanted to include it to all recreational. It's not just the gun range, that you were including it, making broader. So I guess we don't have to revisit this 10 years from now. That's the only other comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I stand corrected. It's *6, I guess, if you're on the phone.
No, it's *9 to raise your hand if you're on the phone.
Oh, okay.
I don't think you have it set so participants can't unmute themselves.
Oh, all right. Any other public comment? I think somebody just unmuted themselves.
What is that? *9?
Oh,
You're Ms. Venezi, you're on, so we know who you are, so go ahead and speak.
May I continue?
Sure.
Oh, okay. I noticed that only 3 of the zones were removed. You still have 7. I'd look at that again. There is a comprehensive plan, and right now the comprehensive plan is out of sync with the zoning, and the zoning and the comprehensive plan should really go hand in hand. Maybe we need to look at the comprehensive plan again. Also, the yards. Alicia said something in between, the 500 and 1,500. I was looking at some of the other states, and some of them are experiencing the same thing as we are experiencing, where they had shooting ranges, but then you had development pressure. And what happened is that the old 500 feet were not sufficient. So some of them sort of compromised and made it 750, 1,000. So there is this kind of development pressure on outdoor shooting ranges. I'd like for you to reconsider 7. Now the HC is the highway commercial. Now, if I remember correctly, when we had Crossroads, it was RC, and it was made highway commercial. Are there any other HCs beside the one on 312?
I thought Route 3.
Yes, there's some on Route.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Go ahead, Ashley.
Yes, there's a section of HC on Route 22.
Oh, on 22, right. I should have mentioned 20. So all we have is 312 and 22. one of the things I asked this afternoon, it was a little bit late, but I'm wondering, does the town have attached to the zones actual areas that we know? For example, HC, well, that HC is Route 312, Route 22. I do have the map, but without you know you might say the address of each of these particular zones. So I'm not too clear where OP1 is. Does the town have that?
I mean, OP1 is in several areas of the town.
Yes, I understand that. And that's what I'm saying, is it possible then to designate those areas of the town that would be covered by OP1, aside from just, you know, having the map which says OP1. I did see it in several areas, but I would want to say, like if it was absolutely made, you know, if it was made specific. For example, I live in Hunter's Glen, and it says, you know, RMF, I think, multifamily. So instead of just having RMF, if you could put Hunter's Glen. Has the town done that?
If it's RMF, it's RMF. We don't have to identify every building and development.
No, I'm not talking, Tony, I'm not talking about building. You know what I'm talking about.
No,
okay?
no, I don't. You're saying RMF and you want Hunter's Glen added into that.
Well,
wording.
you know, we're, as you well know, we're a large community. I mean, if you look on the map, you'll see, you know, how large it is. You could just designate, you know, for example, Hunter's Glen. For example, the HC, Route 22, Route 312. And can that be done, or has it been done, or maybe
All
it
of
should be
the
done?
major roadways are indicated on the zoning map.
Well, you know, on the map I have, I can tell, but I don't, you know, I don't
Well,
see.
and like SR6 is going toward Carmel.
Mhm.
But I don't
I
know.
mean, for example, SR6, you know, is that Danbury Road? Is that
Yeah.
Route 12? Is that,
And if
you
you're
know?
having trouble reading or interpreting the map, I think Michelle or somebody from the town can help with that.
Well, yeah, I might go in there tomorrow. I did pose the question. The other thing is that I didn't hear any discussion about the OP3.
It was removed, wasn't it?
It was removed.
I beg your pardon?
It's
It was removed from the consideration of areas that.
It was
an indoor
removed?
route- Yes, it's
Yeah.
no longer, shooting ranges would not be allowed in OP3.
Right, I understand, but no, I understand that, but it says mixed-use development.
Oh, okay, so the reason that that is still listed in there is when there was an update to the use table a few years ago, there was a typo. It got carried through as OPMU, and it should be OP3 in the use table. So that's just correcting some typos that are in the existing use table.
Okay. I'm glad about the outdoor ranges, because I looked on the Department of Energy, has a 58-page, rather comprehensive discussion and guidelines as to indoor and outdoor, and it's very interesting what they have to say. They have site designs. They have all kinds of cautionary kinds of things in terms of outdoor ranges, and they also have indoor. So what I'm going to do is I'll just if I might submit it to the board for them to look at it. It's from the Department of Energy. Okay, so I think that's about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's one more person.
One more thing. If possible, are you planning to have the public hearing on Zoom, or are we going to be?
And we spoke to that earlier. Bottom line, we don't know. It's all depending on what the governor does. Right now, we don't know. That date is too far out. He comes out almost like, our agenda is basically printed when he comes out and tells us what can and can't be done.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Right now, we're not having one on, again, we may have one on the, what is the sixth? I can, what's the date?
August 6th, you said.
August 6th. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. And the public hearing's been slated for the 20th. Just watch our website. We try to get it in by Monday or Tuesday, but sometimes some of the last minute things this week, we didn't get until Wednesday morning. But
Right.
at least 24 hours.
As I well know.
But it's supposed to be 24 hours at the minimum.
Yeah, you know, the reason why I'm asking is because I assumed, you know, that the town was open, so that, you know, all meetings, since we had open meetings, you know, 2 weeks ago, I assumed that, you know, that would be the routine.
Well, unfortunately, with the social distancing, we almost, well, I wouldn't say couldn't have the meeting, but we, as you know, we're going to have to shuffle people in and out. So it's determined to try this one Zoom, and we'll see how the coronavirus and how we move forward. We can't
Yeah,
guarantee.
well, you know, when you, maybe when you have, you know, matters, you know, such as zoning, which are very, very important. So it's good to have face-to-face instead of telephones or, you know, that kind of thing.
Hey, the good thing is you're talking and we can hear you.
I know. Well, I thank you again, and have a good night, everybody.
You too.
Thank you. There's one more person. I'll unmute them.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. So my name is Bill Josker. I've been a resident of Southeast for over 22 years. We've raised our family here and very happy living here. I'll tell you that I'm also an avid sportsman, outdoorsman, shooter, and gun owner. With that said, I am concerned about having a gun range in our town. My view, our town is well developed, relatively crowded, and is not suitable for an outdoor range at all. And discussion of having entrances 1,000, 15 feet away, 1,500 feet away are not really adequate for an outdoor range, and I'm happy to hear that you're not pursuing that. Outdoor ranges have several issues. Noise is a significant issue, and if you don't believe that, talk to people who live around them, an outdoor range. We didn't move to this neighborhood to be listening to bang, bang, crack, crack of rifles, high-powered rifles, magnums, etc., going off, driving the dogs crazy and the kids crazy and everything else. So in my mind, the outdoor range is totally out of the question and shouldn't be considered at all for a lot of reasons. In addition, you always have the issue of stray bullets. And there are stray bullets, no matter what we do or what's done to the facility. People make mistakes and there are stray bullets. And if you don't believe that, go look at the trees downrange of the targets in an outdoor range. So on an indoor range, I agree with the previous comment that having these facilities further away is better than close. So 1,000 feet is better than 500 feet. 500 feet is pretty darn close. That's from my house up to the corner where the stop sign is. And I don't think that would be acceptable to a lot of residents. And think about your own home if you would like to have a indoor shooting range located 2 neighbors, 3 neighbors away from your house. So further is better. I'd also like to understand, why are we considering doing this in Southeast, seeing that there's much better open space available within close proximity of Southeast? Just go north a bit. There's plenty of open land and there's plenty of places for recreational shooters to shoot, as I do, and even hunt. So why are we considering doing this in Southeast particularly considering how relatively built up we are already. So want to talk about that, or should I just ask questions?
Well, the bottom line is, it had been in our code to allow back when, and it was inadvertently taken out. And when it was put back in, which we're attempting to do now, we've heard public comment. Indoor seems to be the rule of thumb to everyone. Outdoor is questionable, and that's the rationale. Like I said earlier, it's been 230 years. You have no idea when someone may be interested in something. And we will deal with it when it comes. But right now, there's nothing on the table, and it's just something we put in the zoning code.
So let me understand. So going forward, you're going to propose amending the zoning code to allow consideration for an indoor range if it's appropriately located, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and not considering outdoor ranges at this time?
Not at this time.
Yeah,
Good.
it would be a special permit use, so it would have to go through a whole approval process in addition.
So it would be a special permit asking for a zoning change?
Not a zoning change.
Okay,
When we write it, the zone, if right now it's not in, so it's something we shouldn't even discuss because it's not happening on round one. If there's a round two, a special permit would be issued and it would determine what they have. Like tonight, we had issued a special permit to Barrett Hill. There were certain rules and regulations they have to abide by. Now, if someone else does something down the road, something similar, they will have maybe a similar or different set of rules and regulations to abide by. We base it on the location. If someone comes in and wants to put it next to your house and you don't want it, maybe it won't go. They put it next to my house. I don't want it, doesn't go, but it goes to someone else's house. They don't have a problem with it. It could go. But a special permit has special restrictions and allowances written into that law.
okay.
And
So,
I do have your letter here, by the way, which I was going to tell the public, but since you're speaking, I won't have to mention your name again.
okay, good, good. I wasn't sure how this was going to work. I had a little trouble signing on with the Zoom, but I
So
got
did the town clerk, more than you.
So the last question is, what's the criteria that's used to assess the different zones to determine what's an acceptable zone to put a indoor, I'll say rifle, pistol shooting range in? How do you go about looking at the different commercial zone and say, this one's okay, this one isn't okay? What's the criteria?
Initially, like we had, I think there was 10, and after the public spoke, we looked into the different zones, and I think we reduced at least 3 of them, because when we look under a microscope, so to speak, it wasn't possible. Like on Route 6 heading toward Carmel, it basically goes from the Putnam County Savings Bank to the Moccasin place there by Telly Foster. There's nowhere along that corridor that I believe a person could put it in, because there's like hardly any room whatsoever, and we eliminated it.
Okay, so you looked at it from a common sense point of view and size point of view and what's adjacent.
Yes.
Okay, that's reasonable.
Okay. There's one more. Any other questions?
No, that's good for me. Thank you. Thanks for
Okay,
doing it.
Yep. There's one more person has their hand up.
Hi, everyone. It's Lynn Eckhart here.
Oh, no.
I know.
Did I mute her?
Yes.
One muted me. Good evening, gentlemen. I want to thank you for allowing comment tonight. I think it's great and it's very helpful. I wanted to just comment briefly because I was on the board when this was originally passed in 2017. I just want to give a quick timeline because I don't want people to think this was kind of snuck into the law or it wasn't an open process. So just for the record, this was originally discussed as far as having shooting ranges included on the 19th of January, 2017. The lead agency in neg deck was declared that night as well. It was then discussed on the 6th of February, 2017. A public hearing was held on March 13th of 2017, and it was passed unanimously, although one board member was missing that night. on April 6th of 2017. So I just, in case the public was confused by that, I just wanted to straighten that out. And again, thank you. I think the indoor range is a much better way to go. I think we live in a very suburban town now, and I think this will be give a lot of people peace of mind. So thank you all, gentlemen. I appreciate your time.
Hey, there's a lady there too.
I know, but she doesn't get to vote.
Yes, she does. You already hear her when I'm around, believe me.
Okay, so have a really good evening, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last call. Anybody else wish to speak?
There is another person raising their hand,
Okay,
the phone number. So you should be unmuted.
can you hear us?
Hello?
Yes, can you state your name and address for the record, please? Town?
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, Tony, it's me again.
You can't do that. Only one shot.
Oh, I can't do that? Oh,
No, I'm only
I
kidding.
thought we were all finished.
I'm
won
only
already.
kidding. Go
I mean,
ahead.
not all finished, but you know.
Now, go ahead. Ann, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to add something to the gentleman who spoke previous to Lynn. The Minnesota law, they had to adopt a new law. And what happened about stray bullets is that it appeared to be so prevalent that they said that if stray bullets appeared on a person's property, that the owner or the person who was doing it would be charged with trespass. I mean, you know, outdoor shooting ranges present a whole host of headaches from what I see from the Minnesota law and from just the kinds of restrictions and kinds of cautionary guidelines that the Department of Energy implemented. The other thing is that the realtor, there's a very nice site, realtor.com. In fact, I was coming in with some illustrations. And what they did was that they made a survey of various enterprises that were attached to various commercial zones and their impact on residential property. Shooting ranges reduced a person's property value by 3.7%. I'm going to include it in the little packet that I'll be sending to you. But it's very interesting when you look at the other enterprises and the impact that they may have, including warehouses, by the way. Anyway, so thank you very much for giving me a second go around.
Don't make it three, please.
No, it would be 3 strikes and I would be out, that's for sure.
Okay. We'll hold one over for the next meeting, okay?
Okay, I'll be a holdover.
Okay, anyone else? Town
No.
board? Anyone else? Edwin, I'm sorry. Eric, anyone?
No.
Okay,
I do.
Town board.
Town board?
yes.
I just want to give everybody an update on the fireworks. At least a month ago, I wasn't sure whether we would be able to have them or not based on what's going on with COVID-19. But since the governor has not enacted anything else that I'm aware of to prevent me from having them, we're going to be hosting them on August 22nd. Prior to that, I had let everybody know that we sent letters out to everybody who made donations in case, you know, I know times were tough, and in case somebody needed their money back, a business or whatever, we were willing to refund them their money back. But I'm happy to say that everybody responded back positively and told us to keep the money. And to this day, we're still getting a couple of donations. So I thank you all for that. So again, we're going to host it on August 22nd this year. Again, we're going to ask you to practice social distancing. We'll ask you to, of course, you know, wear a mask. We're not going to have porta potties. We won't have a band. We plan to just simply have the fireworks display. We hope to do it a little earlier. Usually when we do it for 4th of July, it doesn't get dark until after 9. So we have them at 9:30. we're thinking we're gonna host them around 8:45, where we'll start firing off at that point in time. And again, if anybody feels uncomfortable, obviously, please then stay home, don't show up. I don't want anybody to want to be there, but then feel uncomfortable if other people are not practicing social distancing or wearing face coverings. And we will be honoring, this is in recognition and trying to honor the 150th anniversary of the Brewster Fire Department. And we'll also be honoring and recognizing first responders and essential workers. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other town board member?
Yeah, one thing, I see the Route 22 pavings coming along. So again, it's great to see we're finally getting some attention to our state roads throughout our town, and especially on our important corridor on 22 for all those businesses. I'm sure it'll hopefully be a boon to those businesses there, especially as they open up following the coronavirus. So, I'd like to say thanks to New York State DOT for that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I filled out my census today. I did it online. It only took 5 minutes. So please make sure you do that. It determines a lot of funding that we get. So it was relatively easy. So just a reminder.
Okay, in closing, we received correspondence tonight, which will be recorded by the town clerk, from Brooke E. Taylor pertaining to the shooting range, as well as of David Cribbs from Mayapack, New York. And earlier, as I said, Mr. Jossinger, he spoke himself. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Make the motion, we close tonight's meeting.
Is there a second?
Yep, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for coming.
All right, thank you, good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good to see y'all. Take care.